Good evening all, and welcome to this evening's On the Sofa Stroke Monday night panel this evening. The more observant amongst you would have already spotted that Chris is not around tonight, so Chris has taken a well-earned night off tonight to continue her birthday celebration. So happy birthday, Chris. And in keeping with the trend on modern day transfer fees, the age is going to remain undisclosed this evening. And so in terms of this evening, it's a pretty busy one this evening. So we'll kick off with, we're very happy to say that we'll kick off with manager Kelvin Davis and Swindon alumni Jamie White, who join us from Saturday's opponents, Eastleigh. So they'll join us very shortly. We're hoping to be joined from the Philippines by Peter Davis. If he does join us, that'll be a first. And then we will move on to a panel. We've got a very strong panel this evening of Rob, Andrew, Alan and Andy. And we'll review Saturday's performance at Chippenham and then look ahead to next Saturday's trip to Hampshire. And no doubt we'll discuss a little bit about today's latest transfer news as well. So without further ado, I'll bring Vic on. Evening, Vic.
Hi, Ray. Good evening to you and a very happy birthday to Chris. And I hope she's enjoying herself. And you'll have noticed, of course, from the top of the show, Billy Bowden is back, joining the town on a one-year deal today. Much speculated, of course, over the weekend, but he's back. We'll be discussing this later on, and I'm sure he might be in the frame to make his second Swindon Town debut on Saturday at Eastleigh. We'll keep a lookout for that. But good to see you back.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, sorry, I've got SAS travel news. I should have got this in. SAS are now sold out for the Walsall game, the opening game of the season on the 2nd of August. But they do have a few seats available for Cardiff. That departs West Swindon at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the Nigel Eady County Ground at 4 o'clock. Members £20, non-members £22. And bookings can be made in the club shop or by phone, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. So they're sold out for Walsall. No seats available on SAS for our opening game of the season, which is fantastic. It's at 1,700 we're taking to that particular game. So it should be cracking.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Vic. So
I'll
bring on Kelvin and bear with.
Evening, guys.
Evening.
Amy, good evening, gents.
Evening, guys.
And,
evening.
Yeah, I'll leave you to it for a bit, Vic. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray, very much indeed. Very much appreciate your time, Kelvin. Very much for joining us. A busy time of the season. And Jamie, of course, a familiar figure around the county ground in Swindon. Nice to have you back on a Swindon Town source. Lovely to have you with us. Let's start off, gents, with the way things have gone so far. Kelvin, couple of pre-season friendlies against a strong Southampton side, a defeat in that one, but a victory over Bournemouth under 21s. How's it gone so far?
Yeah, I think we're sort of satisfied. I think most managers of this time of the season, we'd like to have a few more bodies in the building, but it's still early on in terms of at our level. We can obviously make signings beyond the window, so it means that we're not in a major rush, but it just means we have to manage the minutes and look after a few legs and make sure that we prepare the team as best we can with the numbers we've got, which means we utilise a lot of our youth system, which is great for a club like ours to have the ability to bring a few youngsters into the group, which obviously we love doing. So Saints at home was on paper a very, very tough game for us. So we came away there with a 2-1 defeat, and we used 6 or 7 of our EDS under 19 lads who came into the squad, and to turn up and put in that kind of performance against such a tough opposition, it was a good start. And we kind of spoke a little bit off air before about the importance of building confidence, and you're not winning points at this stage, but you are trying to win confidence in what you're trying to do with our organisation, with our philosophy, and to see that sort of takes shape so early on is a positive. I mean, it obviously doesn't stand for much, but it's a positive in terms of you feel that the messages are getting through and the lads are taking on board what we're trying to achieve.
Jamie, obviously you've been involved with Swindon. You were at Eastleigh before, I think, so you're familiar with the surroundings. How is the setup? How does that compare to what you've been in previously? You're head of football operations, I think, at Eastleigh, aren't you? So I guess you work well with Kelvin and closely.
Yeah, me and Kelvin work quite closely in terms of sort of Kelvin will identify the targets and players that he kind of wants, and then I'll sort of do the talking with the agents and sort of back and forth with the owner. The setup itself, I genuinely feel that Eastleigh are ready for the league. It's an incredibly hard league to get out of. Obviously, there's a lot of budget in that league. There's no SCMP. There's no sort of wage restrictions or anything like that. So you are battling with the big hitters. And we've been pushing for the 3 up, 3 down for a while now. And I think that's why when sort of teams get promoted from the National League, they very rarely are in contention to go back down. So yeah, it's in terms of the setup itself, I think that people that potentially haven't been there before, I think that they'll kind of see that the facilities are getting ready to sort of push up when the time is right. So yeah, it's a good setup.
Kelvin, I think you've got a 3-year contract there. I mean, you've obviously been impressed enough to stay at the club. I mean, it always has impressed me, and certainly the ground facilities are pretty much up there. Where do you think the club can go without being unrealistic? It's always had a lot of ambition, but where do you think it might go?
Well, I agree with Jamie in that the club has got a great foundation. We've got an owner that's willing to invest. So it's about building it slow and steady and improving things sort of year on year, and that's why the 3-year contract was agreed. We didn't want to be in a rush to achieve anything. We wanted to sort of build it in a sensible way, and attract players to the club and look for more than just the sort of here and now. Can we find some players with a bit more of a future, that potentially may not stay with the club but can help us along the way as we improve and build. And I think I was at Southampton for a long time. Eastleigh was a club I'd come to visit to watch a game of football in midweek, and I'd take my son along to watch the game as well because I felt that it was important for him to see sort of the different levels. And we was always impressed with the setup. Always impressed with the infrastructure and the environment of the ground. So for us, is it realistic to say we could win the league this year? I think that it's an impossible thing to say, and I don't like those sort of comments when I hear people say them. I think that you don't choose to win the league. You start the season, you build a strong foundation within your team, and you try to get off to a good start and build week in, week out. And but I do think that it's important to improve year on year, and I think we improved our points total. Actually, that's not factually true. I think we got the same points we did last year, but we certainly didn't concede any goals, and we certainly had some much better performance. We was in contact with the playoffs for a lot of the season, so didn't quite have enough last year to get ourselves into the top 7. But I think this year we've improved in some good areas. I feel the squad is certainly on an upward scale, and we're improving on what we had last year. And with improvement in the squad, you expect improvement with the results and on the pitch. So we're going to obviously, like a few other teams in the league, aim as high as we can. But I think that there's we'll have the capacity to certainly achieve more than we did last year.
59 points and 13th, I think, last year. Is that right? Does that make sense to me? Yeah,
it still burns a little bit. I think we were better than that. I'll be honest. I think we were better than that. And we ended with negative goal difference as well, which I don't like. But we drew 17 games, and that's probably a little bit of our Achilles heel. Something that we've tried to address in the window this year, and be a bit more of a squad that can finish games stronger. But we're also a team that was hard to beat, so that's something we want to continue to build on. If we can turn, I think it was 3 of those draws into wins, we'd have made the playoffs. So just emphasising, we weren't a million miles away, and I think we were improvement on the year before. But the points and the league position obviously don't lie. So, but the reality I felt we were a better team than 13th, if I'm completely honest.
Message for you, Jamie. This is from Brad Lane. He says, my favourite club secretary. So how about that? It's a nice message from Brad.
You couldn't have met anyone else.
So tell us about your role then. You are the sort of go-to when Kelvin wants a player. He tells you to go get him, do the deal, all that kind of stuff. Is that what you do?
Yeah, essentially, just sort of the middle person between Kelvin and the owner. And that's obviously in terms of the recruitment side, and then obviously the operational side. So overseeing the sort of the club secretary, media, anything football related that's not coaching. Essentially, Kelvin's more than experienced enough to kind of know all of that aspect. But when you go non-league, you obviously have to chuck in the other bits and pieces around it. So you're also selling season tickets and cleaning change rooms now and again. It's all part of it. But it's a family club. That's what it's about.
Yeah, that always comes across, Kelvin, when you go there, because it's the usual thing in non-league. A lot of volunteers put in a lot of time, as they do in the Football League, but a lot of people put in a lot of time, don't they, free of charge, purely because they love the football club.
Yeah, well,
Kelvin,
I think Jamie alluded to there. Everyone tries to muck in, and I think I've worked in the Premier League, and the Premier League will be swamped with hundreds of staff, and roles and responsibilities can be a little bit jaded and lost when you've got that many staff. And I love working at Eastleigh, coming every day, and if there's an issue, it gets sorted every day right there and then, because there's always somebody there to deal with it. And it's if you don't deal with it yourself, you get a bit of support where needed to deal with the situation. So it's a club with limited staff, if you like, but it doesn't necessarily make us a smaller club. And I do feel that you can get things done, certainly, when you're working with guys like Jamie that generally care about the environment they work in and want to improve the club day to day and take that as a responsibility and accountability to themselves about making sure that the environment's improving every day, then the club can only go one way.
Message from Sean here. He says, was it true that Charlie Austin was going to join Eastleigh before Tottenham came on board? Was that a rumour or
not
true?
Not so much when I was here. I know Charlie obviously from my Saints days, and there probably wasn't room in the squad for him at the time. We were flush with strikers last year. So yeah, it's certainly from an ability point of view, he's someone who fits everything we'd be looking for, but unfortunately there wouldn't have been a slot available.
Right, okay. If I mention Charlie Austin, I've got to take you back to a Tuesday night at St Mary's. I know you hate conceding goals. You're a goalkeeper. Can you remember much about that particular goal?
I remember the game at Swindon more, that 1-0. There was I remember that better because I remember Charlie being Charlie, and there was some verbals in the game, and I do remember him scoring the winning goal that day as well. So Swindon, Charlie Austin, and Saints only ever ended up 1-0, didn't it? Am I right in saying that?
Well, I think that one at St Mary's would live long in the people's memory. I mean, I'm being a bit unfair here because you had a stellar career as a goalkeeper, and I would suspect that negative goal difference last year really rather hurt because you hate conceding goals, don't you?
Yeah, it's because I think we put a lot of emphasis on improvement, and we felt that we'd improved vastly from the season before. So to go into the last game of the season, I felt that we were a top 10 side. If I'm honest, I felt that we were a top 10 club. So to not finish in the top 10, and again from a manager's point of view, you're always thinking about sort of the recruitment side the following year. It helps support that if it's someone straight away looks at the stats and sees where you finish when you're talking about recruitment. It goes a long way to be in the top 10. It helps you give evidence to the fact that you're moving forward. So there's a little bit of everything there, and we had a very good season. It was just at the end there we didn't quite finish the season how I'd liked.
This is from Kevin Jamie. He says, how long do you think Eastleigh are from reaching the EFL? And I take on board what Kelvin's just said. He doesn't like to predict where they might finish. But in terms of the club, the infrastructure, I think you've already said that it's reaching up towards the EFL. Is there anything that you'd need to improve club-wise to make it ready for that step?
I genuinely don't believe so. I think in terms of, obviously, even last season going to certain clubs with Swindon, like I don't look at those and think that, there's certain clubs that are miles above Eastleigh. I think that there's some of the facilities that are there that are actually, potentially not as good. Swindon obviously being a huge club for League Two anyway. So it's kind of, you go from one extreme to the other. I feel that, potentially if you say, what's ready, I mean, I don't think many people would have probably tipped Oldham to go up, because at the start of the season with Forest Green and York spending a lot of money, I think those were essentially probably the favourites to go up. And therefore, I think in terms of being ready, I think you've clearly got to recruit well, and money always helps. But I think in terms of like chemistry and sort of the group and the togetherness as well, Kelvin will be able to allude better on that. But I think, in terms of as a club, I feel that Eastleigh are more than ready. It's just an incredibly tough league to get out of.
Yeah, you were part of that Southampton side, weren't you, Kelvin? That sort of rose literally season by season. What was it? Ability, spirit? What was? I mean, obviously good coaching. What would you say the secret was?
Probably just having a fantastic goalkeeper.
Probably, yeah. Well, fair enough, yeah.
The serious answer is we were fortunate enough that from a recruitment point of view, I think that came first. We were brought together a group of men really that were all hungry for success and were determined to try and achieve something on the pitch. Alan Pardew was the manager at the time with the recruitment side, and he brought in some real healthy, hungry, young, energetic guys that want to get themselves sort of up the leagues, if you like, and obviously with talent on there along the way as well. And I think we had an ownership that were wanting to grow the club in every direction with the Lever family at the time, and they were big on creating a family atmosphere. And we were, I think to an extent, I was almost said to a large extent, but to an extent, there is some randomness in it as well, because we got on so well, and winning helps. You win games, you get on better with each other. But even now, the wives and girlfriends of the lads will talk, and I think that's something that there's a message there even for me as I build a squad now to try and achieve promotion, that the chemistry, the spirit, the togetherness isn't just in the dressing room. It's the families feel as well. It's about families turning up for a game of football and all feeling a part of it and all celebrating together and obviously accepting defeat together and ultimately learning for the next game. So I think that was a large part of the success at Southampton. It was a fresh start with the Lever family coming in with clear investment, clear direction, and then a management style and a management team to coach the lads, support the lads, and ultimately get the best organisation and the talent together and push up the leagues. I think the promotion out of League One felt more of a relief than an achievement, because it was an expectation on us. I think the Championship promotion the following season was one that took us by surprise. So it was the clear message in what momentum and togetherness and spirit can give us, because we added some more talent to the squad, but the infrastructure, the environment was set, and we had some good leaders in the dressing room, and the rest is history.
Fantastic. We wish you well, gentlemen. Sean's mentioned Eastleigh versus Swindon Supermarine, the Battle of the Plains. Now, there was a Spitfire flying around where I am earlier on today. The badges, Jamie, are remarkably similar. So was it Supermarine first, or was it Eastleigh first with that badge?
It was genuinely Eastleigh first. But hey ho, copyright, I suppose. I don't know, but they are quite similar.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you well, gentlemen. Thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. It's great to talk to you. We'll see you on Saturday, and good luck at Salisbury tomorrow night. I hope you have a great season. It's nice to see you in the Football League. It'd be good to see you there.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. All the very best.
See you soon. Cheers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have got Peter, pleased to say. Brilliant. So Bear with me one moment.
I think, Kelvin, you can disappear now and that's it. He's gone. Marvellous. Right, we're just waiting to go to the Philippines next, which is extraordinary.
Good evening, Peter.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, hi. What time is it in the Philippines?
2:20 a.m.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for being with us. I mean, absolutely. I mean, how does this fit into your usual social strata? Are you usually up around about this time of the day or what?
It will be if it's weekends. If I'm following the football, so Saturdays and Sundays, or whatever Swindon are playing, it's going to be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock by the time I turn in. So I'm quite used to it.
Marvellous. Well, thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. There is a reason why you're joining us. We haven't randomly picked out somebody who lives out in the Philippines. So tell us about your history. You're a Swindonian, aren't you?
Oh, I am born in Swindon in the Victoria Hospital. Dad was a footballer. Mum was a table tennis player. So maybe that explains, some of my abilities, perhaps. He played for the Swindon Corries, which were, I think, some sort of feeder club for Swindon in the 1950s and so on. And then a fairly young age, he played for a cricket team because he worked in the Great Western Factory, Loco Stores. And unbeknown to me at first, there were at least 4 ex-town players in that team, including Ted Batchelor, who I had no idea. He was a striker with Swindon, very lackadaisical type of fielder anyway. Bobby Godwin, who had, at the time, one international cap with Malaya. And then there was Roy Tilley, who I think his brother Rex was more sort of in tune with the town at the time. And then a couple of others as well. So that was quite interesting, from that particular point of view. So from then on, even at the junior school level, I mean, obviously I'm a big town supporter at the time. Can't remember the first game, but I do remember Sam Burton, Arnold Darcy, Bronco Lane, of course, and Jimmy Gold. Less we say about them, the better, perhaps. And those sort of players, and then slowly, I think, to be followed in the 60s by Cliff Jackson and Bobby Woodruff, Ernie Hunt, Mike Summerby, and so on. So I was brought up on those players, and interesting. I mean, things you do when you're young, right? It's like crazy. But when I was at Gorse Hill Junior School, we would come out of the back, and there on occasions would be Cliff Jackson. He's kicking a ball around, and he's saying, "Come on, lads, come and have a kickabout. Try and get the ball off me." That's what he said first of all. Try and get the ball off me. So about 6 of us rushed over. Oh well, this is going to be easy. No, it wasn't at all. Very skillful, very skillful. And then again, from time to time, he would be there, and your coat down for your goalposts, and he'd be involved in a kickabout for about 15 or 20 minutes. So really tremendous, from that particular point of view, and very enjoyable, obviously, and something you obviously wouldn't see today. Where you got a Swindon town player, having a kickabout with the local kids. Very, very impressive. And then another occasion. Sorry, Vic.
No, I was just going to say, your playing career with the schoolboys was pretty good, wasn't it? I mean, you played for some pretty decent sides.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, there was the Headlands team, for example, which got to the quarterfinals of the school's championship. Really very good indeed. We had to go through about 5 games regionally, and I think the biggest one was our last game to be Southwest champions, was against Millfield. So that was a really tough encounter, but we managed to go through that, and then lost in London to St Bonaventures in the quarterfinal. But that was a team which had Kenny Stroud in. He was 2 years younger than myself, but with certain players, you can play in a good side, but there's certain players, aren't there, that stand out. And I mean, he was class. Ball skills, knowledge, ability to read a situation, and you could just tell that he was going to make it as such. And then kept goal basically for Pinus, was off to university. And basically, I think through my dad, it was like, Swindon are short of a keeper. This was the development level, the A team. Can you make it? So I thought, hey, why not? This is a good opportunity. Always, sort of dreamt of playing for Swindon. So we go to Bicester. And of course, I don't know anyone except one, and that's the captain, Jeff Walters, who was my teacher back when I was at Ferndale. He's a music teacher. Of course, he came up to me, "All right, don't worry, Peter, we'll sort you out, we'll give you confidence, oh, yes, sir. Oh, no, don't call me sir, but very difficult, to call him Jeff. So we got onto the pitch and he said, right, we'll give you an early touch of the ball, give you a bit of confidence, no problem. So he got an early touch of the ball after 2 minutes, gave me a back pass, way too short. The forward came in 1-0 Bicester. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So we lost that one 4-1. And then they said, well, maybe like to play, next week against Henley. And I said, well, I'm really going to university. I can't really do that. Now, this has only happened recently. I saw that the program with Richard Banyard, which, what a guy, right? Tremendous.
Amazing.
So I thought, I'll go and look at his site. So I had a look at the Townenders site, and I was amazed at the detail, absolutely amazed. And I thought it would just be first team games he's got there, but no, he's got everything. He's got the combination and he's got the development. So I take a look. I said, well, I'm going to look at my game. I'll look it up, even though I'll let 4 in. I'll look it up. So I went down to the game, I think early 1970. That was, Bicester. Looked on the names. The goalkeeper he had there was a Richard Davis. I thought, what's all this? Did I dream this game? Maybe I dreamt it. So I got in touch with him. And he was great. He said, well, let me give me some details, etc., and we'll check it out, and then of course we'll put your name in, which he then did. But then, interestingly enough, I looked at the team that played against Henley the following week, and as far as I know, it was the first game of Jimmy Allen for Swindon. So,
wow. If you played in that game, Jimmy Allen wouldn't have played in that game, and who knows what might have happened. A sliding doors moment. You never know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, moving on to when you went originally to Singapore, I think, didn't you?
Yeah,
and then you retired to the Philippines. But you played against some pretty remarkable players for the, what was it? I was just trying to think of the name of the team there. The British Hotspurs, that's right, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so if I reel off some of the names that you played against in the 7-a-side competition, Trevor Brooking, Jeff Hurst, the following season, Bobby Charlton, Gordon Banks, Pat Jennings, Mike England, Roger Hunt, Martin Peters, Tony Woodcock, and Kevin Keegan. Now, we should have mentioned that Roger Hunt, of course, played against for Devizes for a short time, the World Cup winner, and played against your dad, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
lovely guy too. Lovely guy.
Well, what a claim to fame for Devizes. They got a World Cup winner in their playing roster. That's pretty good. So, how was it playing against those teams? Because you kind of won, didn't you?
Well, we did, and we didn't. It was over two years, and the first one, I mean, the British Hotspurs were basically a combination of teams that, or at least of often teachers, but maybe engineers and so on, who played a bit of football, get together, play against maybe some local Singapore teams and local Germans, or at least the expat Germans, the expat Swiss, and so on. So it had a seven-a-side tournament, which basically was for seniors over 35. So we said, we'll put out a team. So we put out a fairly good team. Now, one guy in it who, econs teacher, actually played at Wembley twice, F.A. Vals for Billericay and for Stansted, I think, and won both times. So we were quite handy. So they arranged it that the Jeff Hurst and the Trevor Brooking would be in an international 7. So we were in their group. Now, it's like a group of 3. 8 groups of 3. Only the winner would actually go through. And the powers that be decided we'll have all the group games on Saturday, and then we'll have the quarterfinals and semi-finals and final on the Sunday. Now, they expected, of course, this international team to qualify and go through on Sunday. It being the big build-up, come on Saturday and Sunday and watch, World Cup score, hat-trick Jeff Hurst, and so on and so forth. And we played them in the final game, which would decide which team would actually go through to Sunday, and we beat them 1-0. So the powers that be are in a bit of a tizzy. What are we going to do? People are going to come tomorrow, expect to see Jeff Hurst and Trevor Brooking. They won't anymore. They don't want to see Peter Davis, that's for sure. So they actually asked Trevor Brooking, well, what would you like to play for the Hotspurs, right? And in fairness to him, he said, no, not fair. I'll be there and I'll watch, but no, that's very unfair to the other sides if I play. So, absolutely great. So, seeing the error of their ways, the following year they brought all these stars along. Keegan, Hunt, Woodcock, Peters, Jennings, and Gordon Banks, who played outfield at the time. Pat Jennings was in goal, and Bobby Charlton. They got to the semi-final. And we're in the other semi-final. So we did our bit. We got to the final. But then they lost. Yeah. They lost to the other semi-final team. So we didn't... that was our final gone, basically. That was the game we really wanted to play. It doesn't matter if we won or lost. It would be such an honour to play against those guys.
Absolutely.
Fact of the matter was... that they lost in the semi-final, so we're all a bit disappointed. And then we lost in the final as well. So.
Well, I've got a couple of comments here from Gary. He says, Jeff Walter was under-14 Swindon boys manager and played in a band with Den Stone, legend manager at Ferndale. And Steve says...
Dennis,
yeah, did you play with the late Paul Gibbons?
Don't recall the name, no.
Okay,
Don't
fair
recall
enough.
the name.
All right. Just one more point, and then we'll let you go to bed. Because what we'd like you to do at some point throughout the course of the season, we've got Gus from America who joins us occasionally, from Chesapeake Bay. So we'd love you to be on the panel at some time, if that's okay. We'll email you.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah,
that'd
fantastic.
Be great. And also, you just played table tennis, I think, with Don Rogers, didn't you?
That's right, yeah. There was I think it was before the League Cup final. It must have been 67 or 68. I played a bit of table tennis, but for some reason, the club I played for on a regular basis had no room for me. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter, but tough luck. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to find another team. So again, for some reason, a lot of sides playing under the Great Western factory and so on, ABCT and these sort of teams. They said, well, there's a vacancy in either a Division 3 team or something like that. Well, fine, I'll take it. I don't think they told me initially that Don Rogers would be one of the players. So when I actually got there, obviously quite a surprise. With him playing there, we played at the Mechanics Institute on normally a Tuesday evening, so that was for about a year for at least Swindon and District Table Tennis League with the Don. Though I do say he will disagree, of course, totally. But I thought I was the better player, to be honest.
I'll let you tell him, not me. Brilliant talking to you, Peter. Thank you so much for joining us. At what time is it now?
2:35.
Right. Well, you may go to bed now. Thank you very much indeed for joining. And we'd love you on the panel at some point. We'll be in touch.
Much appreciated. Cheers.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right, Vic, if you're ready, we'll bring the panel on.
We will. Yes.
First of all, good evening, Rob.
Evening.
Evening.
Evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Alan.
You're on mute, Alan, but don't let that stop you.
That's right. Good evening, all.
Evening.
And good evening, Andrew.
Mr. Hawes, good evening to you. Right, thank you very much. Right, busy old programme, but great. It's lovely to have all this. We've been from Eastleigh, we've been to the Philippines, and now we go to various points in Wiltshire, I believe. So that's fair enough. Right, Saturday. Chippenham 1, Swindon Town 5. Glatzel, Amin, Clark and Ball before half-time. Jackson Brown fractionally before the end. Tom, Owen, Evans with a spectacular goal right before the end for Chippenham, which completely messed me up because we were 4-0 up at the time. And it would have been 4-0 at Supermarine, 4-0 at Melksham, would have been 4-0 at Chippenham. That's fine. No, they messed it up by that. So there we are. And we should say also there was a very warm tribute before the game for Will Coker, who sadly lost his life in an incident a week or so back. So well done to everybody for paying tribute to Will Coker just before the game. Right, let's get to it then. Hang on. Was a fan from Singapore on our mascot package table there a few years back. Brought his 2 kids over. Okay, fair enough. Right, let's talk about Saturday then. Rob, brilliant first half performance. I thought played some really, really good football. What was your impression?
Pretty much that, to be fair. It was quite a surprise that a strong side at that level like Chippenham was so easily undone by us. They did commit the cardinal sin, didn't they, that we've seen so often reverse, playing out from the back on a pitch that's not particularly easy to play on. And the one thing that you can definitely say about the start to this pre-season is Ian Holloway is clearly building a side that he wants to press extremely high up the pitch and win the ball back in the opposition's half as often as possible. And Town did that successfully on a couple of occasions. And the football, some of that football in the first half was sublime. I have to say, little touches in and around the penalty box, using Harry Smith as the wall pass more often than not, to be able to play in the likes of Amin and Butterworth and Glatzel, who were playing off his shoulder really well. And you could see the fact that a lot of those players have played together now for a reasonable period of time and they know each other's movement. That was the one thing that really stood out for me. Now, the second half didn't quite live up to the same expectations, but I guess on a day like that often is the case. But all credit to them, because I thought the first half display was really, really good.
Yeah, it was, Andy, wasn't it? I mean, the one thing I guess that surprised all of us was there weren't many substitutions. We kind of expected there to be a lot at half-time, and there wasn't. He kept with the same 11.
He did, yeah. He, he made the substitutions sort of halfway-ish through well, probably not quite halfway through the second half. And you were always expecting there to be, a hatful after that, which didn't materialise. Agreeing with Rob, the first half was absolutely unbelievable. We could have easily got 5 or 6. Second half petered out a bit. We let them come at us a little bit more. So, a little bit defensively, probably a little bit more disappointing. But yeah, on the whole, on a very difficult surface, it was very dry and very hard. A good workout.
Alan, if I might mention the name Will Henry to you, it'd be familiar with Swindon fans, of course, but I thought he had a terrific game. It might, sound a bit daft when he's let 5 goals. Well, he let 4 of them, I think. But, he had a fantastic game, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It would have been a lot more had it not for him being in goal. He did pull off some really good saves. He also was given the chance to make some saves that he probably shouldn't have been given the chance to, in all fairness, because the number of chances created, especially first half, was phenomenal. The amount of one-touch football, as Rob said, in and around the box, was fantastic. But yeah, they had Will Henry to get by, who he was probably man of the match, despite, as you say, letting in 4 goals.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought he was fantastic. Mr. Holloway, not too pleased though, Andrew, afterwards. Is that fair to say?
Yes, yeah, he was pretty happy with the first half, but not very happy with the second half, because I think he felt that they sort of took their foot off the gas rather too much for his liking, despite sort of all the sort of chances they created in the first 10 minutes or so of the second half. I think he was looking for, after the first half, maybe to go on and get 6 or 7, especially having picked a lineup. I think he said that was basically the kind of lineup he might throw out there if the team's behind and needs some goals. So it's because when you had Drinan and Butterworth as your 2 sort of wing backs, for want of a better phrase, clearly attack is the one thing on your mind. So yeah, he just thought they slacked off a bit too much from his perspective. Although sometimes he does mellow out a bit after his initial assessment. We'll see if he does.
Yeah, this is for you, Andrew. This is from Kevin. Is Harry Smith staying? Is Scott Sinclair coming? We'll get on to Billy Bowden a little later, but he said, I think even if Man City came in for Harry Smith, he's not going anywhere. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. No, I think the line is definitely that Harry Smith is not for sale at pretty much any price. I would say I'm slightly concerned by the fact that it does seem, according to my learned friends at the Moonrake, at least Cambridge have not been deterred by having the first bid knocked back. So perhaps their interest is a bit more than speculative. My classic thing to try and do with players who are the subject of transfer speculation is if they go past me, I say jokingly to them, "Oh, you're still here then." And then in the vague hope that they will come back with someone minor. But he was far too clever to do that, unfortunately. But I mean, clearly they don't want to sell him, and it's very hard, even if you think of a sort of six-figure bid or whatever, as to how you find someone like that. I think it's the scarcity value that makes it all the more important to keep. Because I was trying to rack my brains and think, if for any reason he did go, what players are there of that type you can find? And the only one I could possibly think of, and even he's not quite the same, is Andy Cook at Bradford, and he'd hardly be easy to dislodge either. So they clearly don't want to sell him, but it does just worry me a little bit, like I say, that Cambridge have been back for a second go.
I remember walking into the ground with you once, and you said to Angus MacDonald, "Oh, you're still here then?" And he sort of laughed at you, and about a week later, he'd gone. Yes.
They're far too sophisticated for my naivete.
I think the thing is, Rob, Harry Smith is central, if I might use that word, to the plans of Ian Holloway, isn't he? I mean, he's kind of key to that whole way he wants to play.
Well, you could see that more than ever on Saturday. I think the very nature of the fact that it was players playing off of him. He'll obviously want to score a number of goals himself, but clearly he takes the opposition defenders away from those around him, and that gives space for the likes of the creative players that we've got who can play off of him to get their goals. And you've only got to look at who's scored in pre-season so far to sort of like build that out. I mean, Amin is now scoring goals for fun at the moment, which is great to see. Also not necessarily that helpful in terms of a possible pricing fee at the end of this transfer window, I know, but that seems to be the way of it. And let's be perfectly frank about it. As much as none of us want to see Harry Smith go, there isn't another type of forward that we could go and get that would take his place. So you have to think about what the alternatives would be. And I would think Ian Holloway, the reason he's so adamant that Harry Smith cannot leave this club is that he would have to completely change the way he plays his forwards. He would not have that one target man who could operate in quite the same way. I'm struggling to see what would happen when Harry Smith doesn't play for us. What is going to be our alternative strategy? Now, I know he likes throwing a lot forwards on the pitch, but is it Drinan and players playing off of him, or is it a different way of playing when Smith's not there? I'm not sure I know yet, and I'd rather not find out. I'd rather see Harry Smith here. Thanks very much.
Yeah, Sean says fans will think we may offload a striker because of the amount we have now, and more so with Bowden in. We will get to Billy Bowden a little later. But Andy, I think the thing is, Harry Smith is so sort of central to Swindon, isn't he, at the minute? And, you know, he has that option of dropping back to centre-back, which he did to great effect as well several times last season. And I would think he's the sort of player that Ian Holloway absolutely loves, 100%. Likes a fight, not a fight, but he likes he likes a battle. Let's put it like that, doesn't he? He doesn't mind the muck and bullets of a game, does he?
No, absolutely. And as you say, he can play in centre back as well. So, he's quite versatile, to that as well. If it's down to Ian Holloway, then he's not going anywhere, is he? It's going to have to be something, I would say, very serious money-wise to make the club sell. And I would like to think that, he's going to be here at the end of the transfer window and that Ian Holloway is able to keep hold of him. Because as Rob said, there's a lot then to change in the way that we play, if he does go. So fingers crossed. He'll still be here at the end of August.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, the thing is, Alan, we all know that no player is. I mean, nobody's indispensable. And if somebody comes in with a daft offer, say, I don't know, let's say daft offer, 2-3 million quid, then it'd be very difficult to turn that down. I mean, what would be an acceptable fee, do you think, for somebody like Harry Smith?
What a question.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. Everybody's for sale, aren't they? And if somebody comes in with a stupid amount of money or stupid offer, it's going to be accepted. But he's worth, what would it take to replace him? That's the question. And the other problem is, if he's sold before you then have to go and buy somebody else, the price of any player you want to get goes up.
Yeah.
So value for money is out of the window straight away. So no, it's clearly integral to what Holloway does. From that central position, everything's being played in and around or off of him. And you look at the goal that Glatzel got the other day. The space that Glatzel found for himself was incredible. There was a few one-touch passes, but he had acres of space, and just on the edge of the box. But equally, he's really important at set pieces. There were a couple of corners where he's just headed the ball away, so easily, and made a potential difficult corner, and he's made it look easy just by heading it 30 yards up the pitch, and away we go. So I don't know what a good price would be. I'd just rather keep him and be done with, not have to worry.
Absolutely. I think if you were a defender, you'd hate to play against Harry Smith. There would be not a comfortable minute on that pitch, would there? I don't think. This is from Tony. Can't see Harry leaving. The club is showing commitment for the P word. Who would want to miss, hopefully, a great season? Ollie built a squad of team members. Ian says, still think we need 2 centre-backs. Does Andrew think we'll see a few departures, as in Butterworth and Delaney, both on the edge of this squad? Also, any updates on Sinclair? I hate the transfer window, I've got to say, with a passion. I think, you should knock that on the head the day before the start of the season and be done with it. Because it leads to so much uncertainty, Andrew, and I haven't been in your position. It's a flipping nightmare, quite frankly, trying to keep up with it, isn't it? What do you think in terms of movement might happen? Then I got a follow-up question. You're a busy chap tonight.
All right. I think there are. It sounds like a sort of. I think there are players who are on the fringes who they'd be happy to let go. So I wouldn't rule out the odd departure or two, but it kind of takes. Obviously, it takes someone willing. It's it all developed quite quickly. I think with Demisha Sabawale, it was fairly clear that he wasn't. He'd sort of fallen behind in the pecking order. He's behind Joel McGregor. I think Joe Snowden's looked quite good at wing back. So, sometimes if the players get the message that they're not likely to get much playing time, that might help their agents to look a little harder and see if there are alternatives. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the odd one go out the door. But I'd be surprised to see anyone who is sort of what the manager regards as an integral part of the first team squad go out the door. Let's put it like that.
Dave the chair. Hi, Dave. I hope you're okay. And, it'd be really good to see you again start the new season. Can't wait for the new season, Dave says. Plus, with Bowden Jr. back. Mr. Hawes may know this. Any ideas what the situation re a new coach under the gaffer, or have I missed something? Late last season, Ian said scrolled up just the wrong moment. This new coach should be joining up with us after he worked his final 3 months elsewhere, but it's all gone quiet on that front now. If I remember rightly, at the fans forum, that was kind of knocked on the head. He went somewhere else, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that all sort of fell through. So I don't think there's any prospect of being revived. I think the current coaching team seem a pretty happy bunch when you see them. So I don't expect any sort of immediate additions in that regard.
Yeah. This is from Scott Hartley. Please ask Rob and the panel what their thoughts are on how Amin has been during pre-season and how important he'd be if he stays. Now, here's the other one. Thanks, Scott, for the question. We'll get Rob to answer that now. Botan Amin, he looked class on Saturday, didn't he, in that first half? And we jokingly said that's another 3 noughts on his transfer fee when he scored. But, I think it's fair to say everybody agrees he's not the finished article, but boy, oh boy, he's on the way to it. I think that's a fair assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're still in no different a position from my perspective as we were at the very back end of last season. He's not had a full season in first team football yet. Everybody tries to build up young players that they're already the finished article, and he's not. There's no two ways around it. He's still got plenty of rough edges and lots still to learn. And the best way to do that, in my humble opinion, is to continue to play men's football at first team level. And I don't think if he ended up getting a bid at the moment through the likes of a Championship or a Premiership team, he's going to end up in their under-21s. He's not going to play for Lord knows how many years in a first-team situation again. And we've seen that happen to lots of players in the past, and their career just goes backwards. I'd implore him, if he was here to listen to us now, I'd implore him to listen to his boss, knuckle down this season, go and score an absolute hatful of goals, get a promotion on your CV, and then the world's your oyster. But don't jump ship now when you've got all this in front of you and end up just rotting away in some under-21 team and struggling for a season. Just not worth it. Stay where you are, score lots of goals, get us promoted.
Yeah, I think, Andy, I think everybody would agree with that. I think we've seen so many examples, haven't we, of young players going off somewhere and then either being off on loan or, just, I think Holloway likes him, doesn't he? He wants him in the team.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He knows the club, stay for another year.
Exactly. I think, as Rob said, to go somewhere else to a Championship or Premier League side and sit and play in their under-21 teams, is not going to do him much good at all. Earn, hopefully, promotion with us this season. And, he can pick and choose then, can he, when the clubs come in for him, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, you of the same mind, Alan?
Yeah. I think when you look at young players that have left, more players disappear and they're never seen or heard of again than go on to one of the big teams and break through and become an international player. I think Alex Henshaw left us, and he very early on went to Man City for it was the next best thing. He never made it at Man City, went to Ipswich on loan, and not only a couple of years ago, I watched him playing for Wantage. I was still a fairly young man, and a young footballer, but took the step, very, very tempting carrot at the time, took it, but, did it really do him any favours? It's difficult, and he'll be able to tell us the answer to that. So, no, it'd be nice to see one of your own, inverted commas, actually doing something for our first team. And then, earn your stripes and then get your move.
Sean King says, just got back from holiday and there was an Andrew Hawes lookalike, where even down to the cap, which he wore in the pool too. Now, I'm not sure how that works. And whether it was an Andrew Hawes tribute act. Have you been on holiday recently?
I have, but not there. I would think that is the nichest of niche markets. If you're trying to exploit that, to be fair, very niche.
I can see suddenly there'll be a lot of Andrew Hawes lookalikes in the forthcoming season. That'd be fantastic. Botan Amin, any news on possible sniffs around him?
I think there continues to be clubs looking, but like I say, we're all in a sort of bit of stasis, so there's no immediate suggestion he's going to sign a contract. He's still on the one that Swindon have got for him as a kind of youth player breaking into the first team, so Swindon can keep hold of him for the time being if they wish. So I suppose the one thing I'd say is when you kind of watch him in the games and stuff like that, I certainly don't think that there's any kind of suggestion he's had his head turned the way he's playing. He just seems to be playing with the same sort of carefree confidence he had last season. Long may that continue.
I mean, I've had very few dealings with him, but he seems a very level-headed sort of young man. I mean, I in all the conversations I've had with him, he always seems very amenable and very pleasant. And I think his parents tried to keep his feet on the ground, and I think he and Holloway quite admires them too, doesn't he?
Yeah. No, I think he's had chats with them. I haven't really spoken to this about him, but I guess he has had that. Ultimately, he has had that experience of being released before by QPR, of course, before Swindon picked him up. So maybe that does just temper you and remind you of that need to work hard. But yeah, no. Well, whenever we've spoken to him, he's always kind of I would say impressively professional for someone of his age. If that doesn't make me sound as old as I actually am.
No, I did an afternoon with several players last year about prejudice and racial abuse, and I have to say, Botan Amin spoke really, really memorably, and for a young man, he spoke very sensibly.
I think if I remember right, Vic, wasn't there an incident around the Sunderland Youth Cup tie? I think he did get some abuse as well.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Yeah.
So no, but as you say, impressive. Impressive for what he's done so far.
Absolutely. Danny says, any ideas of the starting lineup? We'll get to that in a moment. I can only see Ripley, Wright, Clark and Smith, fingers crossed, being definite starters. If he had any sense and loyalty, says Tony, listen to Ollie, sign a contract for 2 plus 1 year, additions on agreement on each side, possibly moving on to a top club with experience. There we are. So sign a 2-year contract now, 1 year option, done and dusted. Simple as that. Right. The starting lineup. Let's have a look at the lineup on Saturday. Ripley, Wright, Ball, Clark, Glatzel, Smith, Butterworth, who I thought was tremendous. Drinan or Drinan, whichever you prefer, Kirkman and Mitchell. The subs coming on, Finley Munro, who was very impressive, I think, when he came on, Philadelphia Mabetti and Jackson Brown. That's right. There were only 3 that came on, I think, Andrew. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So what about that starting lineup, Rob? How close is that? Now, with the addition of Billy Bowden, of course, how close is that to the first 11?
Well, it was very interesting that there was so few substitutions.
Oh, a lot of feedback there. Don't know what's happened.
Better?
And you've gone very quiet all of a sudden.
How's that? Is that any better?
No.
Okay. I can't hear anything at all. It sounds fine for me.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we'll go to Andy first, and then we'll come back to you. Andy, what about that lineup?
Yeah, it's not going to be too far away, I don't think. From the names that have been suggested, I would probably maybe Ball at the back and Kilkenny, who didn't start. But for me, I would always have him as in the starting 11. They're probably the only other 2 that I would probably say at the moment.
Alan?
Yeah, I think Mitchell had a great game in there, but I think Kilkenny will get the nod over him when it comes to it. A lot of those could start the first game, but a lot of them couldn't. It's there's a lot of some good competition in some of those positions now. The left and right wing backs, as you mentioned, and you've got Jake Tabor and now Bowden in the mix. There's it's almost like if things aren't whoever he starts with and it's not working, you just change the whole front set of players. They probably try and get away with putting them all on as well, but you know what I mean. It looks very good. There are some good competition in lots of places, and I think there'll be a lot of speculation. Well, I know there's already been speculation in WhatsApp groups that I'm in. Everybody's trying to predict what the Walsall team selection will be, and there are a lot of variables in that. And I think there were a lack of subs, so I guess the Eastleigh team will be all of the other players starting and playing most of the game just to get the minutes in the legs.
Would you think you'll go close to it, Andrew, on Saturday? Or it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the last thing you want is to pick up an injury the week before the start of the new season. But there was no Jake Tabor at all on Saturday. Do we know why that was?
As far as I know, I'm fine. I think a bit of it seems to have been. I believe tomorrow there's a kind of going back to a great tradition in time. I think there's something of like a possibles v probables match tomorrow, as it were.
Brilliant.
So let's hope the next John Trollope emerges from that.
Fantastic. Will they be wearing red and blue like they used to? Reds versus blues.
Yeah. To go back to it. So I think some of it's. I'm not aware of him having picked up an injury or anything like that. I mean, he was named among subs as was Joel McGregor. So I think it's traditional to go fairly close to your starting lineup for the last game. I would imagine we'd get more clues at Eastleigh than it being a bit rotated, but we won't really know till 12 days time, I guess.
Yeah. And also, of course, Tom Nichols didn't feature as well on Saturday either. So, he's bound to figure, isn't he, somewhere in that squad on the 2nd of August. So, unless there's something we don't know, but I wouldn't have thought there is. But are you with us, Rob?
Well, I was there last time.
Oh.
Is that any better?
Speak. Go on, say something.
Hello.
That's a little bit better. Yeah. Was that close to a starting lineup on Saturday, do you think?
I don't think it was. I have to be honest.
Right.
I think
that's better.
I
Go on.
I think Kilkenny is a shoe-in for the centre of midfield, I have to say. So I think that was Dylan Mitchell's test, and I thought he passed it, to be fair. Whether he's going to be a member of the squad this year, I thought he did very well. But I think he'll bow down to the superior one. I think it'll be Kilkenny in the centre of midfield. I'm not sure about that. The forwards, I think Harry Smith obviously is a shoe-in if he's here. But I would certainly expect to see Bodin in the squad, if not on the pitch. Now he's signed, and I think we've still got work to do at right wing back. Obviously, with McGregor not fit, I don't think Drinnan was the obvious solution. I think that was more a case of just getting minutes in the forwards rather than worrying too much about defensive options. So I think that's probably, it may have been half a team. Let's put it that way. I don't think it'll be many more than that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? As we've said, that probably could be a first 11, but it probably couldn't be. It's one of those.
But that's the beauty, isn't it? We've now got a possible squad of maybe 17, 18, 20 players who you wouldn't really be too concerned if they came in. And that's something we've not had, certainly at this stage of the season, for as long as I can remember. And that's what gives us that little bit more confidence, I think.
Hi, Gary. Good deal for Sabawali. Good athletic player, but lacked confidence. Now with St Mirren, of course, in the Scottish Prem. Walsall match says, Tony, am I correct? The A417 is closed from Cirencester to the air balloon roundabout.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely correct.
Yes. That's why some people are going straight up the M5 motorway and not via Cirencester, I have to say. Yes. Not good planning, really, is it? But hey, I don't know how close that is to being somewhere near finished. I don't know.
2027, Vic.
God, another year of it. Lovely. Another 2 years of it. Fantastic. Right. Billy Bowden, Andy. Back today. It was speculated over the course of the weekend. Nearly joined last summer, but has come back to where it all started for him. A 1-year deal with an option for another year. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, good signing. Very experienced, been around since he left us many years ago. I think that he'll fit in well. And as I say, just bring that little bit of experience to the team. Be interesting. I think he's probably got a ready-made song, hasn't he? The one that they used to sing about Christian Roberts.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, but you could add any number of clubs in that, couldn't you?
You could.
Yeah, beginning with the certain one, and then yes. Sean says, join the M5 at Stroud or Dursley instead. So there you are. That's the diversion news for you too. Billy Bowden, Alan, what are your thoughts on that?
Good, solid signing, and good amount of experience. He'll do a good job on either left or right side, and a bit of competition for Will Wright in his free kicks as well, I guess.
Yeah,
very true. At the same time, there's a few of the players I think that we've signed are quite good dead ball specialists as well. So Will Wright might not always have it his own way. I guess while he's got the captain's armband, he can pull rank, but there's a good few dead ball kickers there, and obviously Bowden is definitely one of those.
In a different planet, Man United have just paid 65 million quid for Buemo from Brentford. That's on a different sort of stratosphere to us, really. Billy Bowden, when did this come about, Andrew? Did you have any inkling that it might happen over the weekend? What was?
There was a little bit of sort of whispering about it. I think Burton have been quite good in sort of helping it all go through. In the end, sort of kind of allowing him to sort of head back south, which I think he wanted to do. So as you said, there's always been a bit of interest in kind of bringing him back. And the one thing that has looked a bit sort of light is kind of left-sided players, I guess. So it just all came together rather nicely. And I think on a sentimental level, it's quite nice to get him back because I'm probably opening a God, what's it going to be? 13-year-old can of worms. I wonder whether he really should have been allowed to leave in the first place.
Well, I was going to say there were probably reasons he did leave that weren't football related. I'd hate to say that, but that's possibly right, isn't it? And he's doing what his dad did, leaving Swindon and then coming back again. So,
well, all the best people can't help themselves in the end. They always end up always have a homing instinct.
Where do you think he might fit in?
I would think if we're going to play with Smith and perhaps the sort of two players off Smith, that you would feel that might be a job we can do. I don't know whether we might put him at wing back. I wouldn't think so. Now we've got Munro in. So, but there are one thing Ian Holloway can never get enough of is forward options. So, but I guess I'd see him as one of those sort of wide forwards, perhaps, if we stick with the kind of way we're playing. So with Smith in the centre and the other players playing off him.
Rob, we jokingly said before we started that maybe he's going to play with 10 attackers and a goalkeeper. I mean, the one thing Ian Holloway isn't is defensive, I think it's fair to say, isn't it?
Well, we saw the back end of last season, didn't we? All those games which Swindon suddenly made comebacks in because Ian Holloway was happy to change the personnel at a drop of a hat. And we've already mentioned the starters and finishers. He's got his own names for different players at different stages of the games, doesn't he? As far as he's concerned, it's an 18-man squad game every weekend. Okay, he can't play them all, but if he had a choice, he probably would. So I think it's refreshing that we're talking about a squad with options. That's the thing that springs to mind for me. We've been limited so often, especially at this stage of the season when we're looking forward 2 weeks away from the first game of the season. We're always talking about the fact we're 5 or 6 players light at this stage, usually, in terms of an overall squad situation. And those players tend to turn up on the 31st of August at about 11:05 when they get announced, don't they? So the very nature of the fact that we look like we have a squad that, if anything, just needs tinkering, it doesn't need any kind of radical overhaul at this stage, is really refreshing. And the very nature of the fact that we've brought in an experienced player who's played, 400 games at league level, now across a number of different divisions, and many of them being at a much higher level than the level we're playing at now, it can only bode well as far as I'm concerned. Ball and people like that are the benchmark for me. I mean, that was a player who could easily have stayed at Wimbledon who got promoted, and he didn't do that. He chose to come straight to the Ian Holloway crazy gang at Swindon instead. And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see players with that kind of mentality. It just gives you that little bit of extra buzz that those players wouldn't be coming here if they didn't think we could do something this season.
Bodin bodes well. I see what you did there. That was very good. You can use that on Saturday, Mr. Hawes, if you wish. I mean, Andy, there is a great deal of sentimentality with former players coming back. And I guess if we all remember the goal against Crawley, don't we, which was a spectacular goal from the right wing, if I remember, over the head of the Crawley keeper those years ago. And as many of us still think of him as a very young player, but of course he isn't, is he?
No, what is he now? 33, is he now?
31.
He's early 30s, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's come towards the twilight of his career now. So, but he's got all that experience behind him now, playing at Championship and League One level. So there is a lot of experience that he can bring to the side, and hopefully that's the case.
Let's look ahead to Saturday then. What are you expecting at... Very nice ringtone. What are you expecting at Eastleigh then, Alan?
I think we'll see a good batch of the players that we didn't see on Saturday at Chippenham, and I think a lot of those will probably get the full 90 as well. I think kind of a bit of an opposite of what we saw there. But being the last friendly, you'd like to think it's probably a little bit closer to the starting lineup at Walsall. I'd expect it to be tougher opposition because, the first half, especially at Chippenham, it was very, very one-sided, and Chippenham looked miles off of the level that Swindon were at. I'd expect Eastleigh to be much, much closer, so it should be a tougher game. as it has been each time we have played them. We've not had an easy game against Eastleigh and friendlies, cups, or the like. So I think it'll be a good test. I think it'll be.
Tyree Shade scored for them with a header apparently on Saturday. Yes, a header. I'll just throw that one in. Hi, Vic and all. With all these good signing, anyone know how the season tickets are going? Everyone I talk to are very upbeat. This is the year, says Adrian. Any idea, Andrew?
I must admit I don't. I suppose the one thing we have seen is all the is those first two away tellers. I think there's even more Walsall tickets coming apparently. So I think there's a third batch of those coming.
Wow, more than 1,700.
Yeah, or I think a third batch is going to be put on sale from what I saw. So
goodness me,
and then it's already 1,000 for the first trip to Cardiff's new stadium, isn't it? So
absolutely.
If you look at those figures, and if people make the start we hope for, then maybe there will be a late run on the season tickets.
Nick, I've seen 3,800 mentioned as a season ticket figure. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I think 3,800 is the figure I saw.
Fair enough. Maybe there'll be an update for the start of the season. Nick says there was a lot of talk of a lower playing budget this season. Do we think there is much left to spend? Goodness. Well, we signed 112 players. No, I'm joking. But anyway, what are we expecting at Saturday, Andrew? We've got this game tomorrow then, the fabulously named Probables versus Possibles. Whether that's the name of it, I don't care. We're going to name it that. What do you think about Saturday?
So my best guess is we'll see something relatively close to the starting lineup. I think it's often you get that for about an hour, and then you maybe get the changes afterwards, unless of course one of those Possibles does something particularly improbable. But I would
very good.
I would imagine that that'll be our best sort of clue towards who might start against Walsall.
They're all coming out tonight. I have to write these down, use them throughout the course of the season somehow.
4,000 gone too soon. I have nothing by October.
Oh, Alan says season tickets. Oh, that's you, Alan.
That's
what
me.
Did you say over 4,000?
Over 4K, yeah. Hot off the press.
Good.
Yeah, 4,200 apparently. Yeah, how about that? It's pretty good. Scott Hartley says, how many of the panel are making the trip to Eastleigh?
Oh, here we go.
This is a bit of inside information. I don't think we'll go any further, but I think from your embarrassment, the fact is you're not there. Is that right?
Pre-season friendlies. Pre-season friendlies. You know I'm in Paris on Saturday, so I'm getting myself prepared for another long 9-month slog. So I have to give the wife one Saturday a season, so she's getting this one.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, we'll leave you out of this. Then no point in asking you about Saturday. Andrew, what do you expect? Your full team or not?
Sorry, which Andrew? I've got confused.
Andy, as opposed to.
Oh, right. Sorry. Sorry, what was the question? So, what did you say again, Vic?
Full team or not Saturday, do you think?
I think you're going to see it more or less what it's likely to be at Walsall, but I think there'll be a few more changes during the game than there was probably at Chippenham.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time and for your patience at the beginning, because we've had a busy old show tonight. What with the Eastleigh manager, Kelvin Davis, and Jamie White, the head of operations at Eastleigh, plus Peter from the Philippines, which is a first for us. And then, of course, our esteemed panel, Ray. It's been a busy old panel and a busy
Certainly has. Very enjoyable listening as well. Thank you very much, all. And just very quickly, Vic, Laura sent a message in earlier from SES Travel. Oldham coaches going on sale tomorrow. So they depart West Swindon at 6 a.m. Nigel Eady County Ground at 6:30. Members £29, non-members £31.
Does it say what time they leave near Exeter? Doesn't say.
No, it's probably going to be about 4 o'clock.
Lovely. Thank you. I look forward to that. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for picking that up. Thank you, Laura, for sending that in. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Have a good week, everybody. And maybe see some of you at Eastleigh on Saturday. Failing that, it's only 12 sleeps till Walsall.
Very good. And we should also say once again a very happy birthday to Chris.
Yeah, happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.